We all hear a lot about Bollywood as the Indian equivalent of Hollywood, and I'm pretty sure that there are other countries with their own respective Hollywoods or, well, movie centers. Hungary doesn't have anything like that. It has a big movie studio that is owned by a very controversial person, but nothing like that. No big film industry. It's not like Hungarians would crave the film industry because we are not that kind of a people who enjoy going to the movies a lot. And not because it's inexpensive, but it's just because we don't, I guess. Or at least even if we go there, we still have this notion that we should watch Hollywood movies because they are better than other movies. That reminds me of something called the Pannonia Film Studio. And film studio is like a regular name, but Pannonia. Pannonia is the old name of this territory. Actually, anything western from the Danube River, it was called the province of Pannonia in ancient, well, Roman days. This film studio got its name after that, I guess, and was producing films during the communist era, both live-action films and animations. But this was very different than the Hollywood that is based on exploiting people to gain money or, well, whatever the definition is. This was about people being employed by the studio creating stuff. There was censorship, and sometimes they could get away with things because it was art. But most of the time, if the studio didn't like the movie that was made using the money of the studio, they just shelved it. And that was it. Now, the thing is that this was a very interesting system. There was one studio in the country with a budget of whatever, and there were people, directors, lighting professionals, camera professionals, people that were employees, and there was a director placed on top of this hierarchy. So these people had regular 9-to-5 jobs producing movies for the entertainment of the socialist Hungary. A side note, people during the socialist period did receive salary but didn't start paying taxes until 1989 probably, or maybe a little bit earlier, but paying taxes was unheard of, and still to this day, to some people, paying the strange amount of taxes is just weird. There wasn't even one tax that they had to pay. They just received the salary because everything was government owned. So why would the government pay tax to itself? That was just silly. So this film studio was just like any other state-owned company with an employee count of 300, 400, I don't know. And their job was to quietly produce movies in kind of a slow pace. It doesn't mean that they produced horrible movies. Some people working there were amazingly talented, and there are some movies that, even though I don't really care much for the Hungarian movie collection, still to this day I enjoy watching because they are just so damn good. The only way to make movies during the socialist period was to be part of the Pannonia Film Studio. There was nothing else. Every privately owned thing, and there were some of these, was frowned upon, and of course this continued even to this day, where every privately owned business is perceived by the masses as something that is of evil. And everyone who decides to have a little freelance project going on the side is perceived as somebody who is doing something wrong, because back in those days you had to do this under the table, if that makes sense. So no invoices, nothing. Of course, in 1989 they put heavy regulations of everything, and to overcompensate this horribleness, where things were state-owned but there were private companies but not officially. Still to this day, for instance, when you create an invoice, you can't just use Word to do that. It seems funny to us Hungarians to use Word with an invoice template. What are you, mad? You have to use a piece of software or a piece of tiny notebook that is issued by the government. And even though most pieces of software are not developed by the government, the government has to approve them first. So yeah, I do have a piece of program like that, and that's how I create my invoices. Still, even today in the 21st century. Anyways, I think I went way off of the film studio. If you want to hear a little bit more about what of these films looked like and all that, then, well, please consider this as a poll. Just comment or like the video as usual, and then I'll make sure that I think about it in the future and perhaps create a bit more detailed video about what was going on in the Pannonia film studio during the socialist period. So thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye bye!